What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. We're going to actually work from the top down today. With our top tier contenders, there are only two teams that I have in this tier, Denver and Oklahoma City. These are the teams that check every single box that you need for legitimate championship contention. I wanted to kind of go over that concept a little bit. So first of all, I think you need either a supreme talent advantage, like the 2024 Boston Celtics, or you need a bona fide top tier superstar, one of those four dudes at the top of the league right now. In our player rankings, that was Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those four guys, I think you either need one of those or, like Boston, five dudes who would make $30 million on the open market. In this case, both Denver and Oklahoma City check that box through Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think you need a transcendently great unit, a side of the floor where you're as good or better than anyone else in the NBA. I think Denver has that on offense, and I think Oklahoma City has that on defense. I think your other unit needs to be resilient enough for it not to undercut the success of your other unit. Denver has shown the ability, even after bad regular seasons, to be as good on defense as they need to be to win when the time comes. Oklahoma City was an elite regular season offense, but as we went over in our season preview, they were a really bad offense in their losses, generally an inconsistent playoff offense. But to be clear, they were good enough on that end of the floor when they needed to be. I think you need depth. You need to be able to survive the 82-game grind and be prepared for 4 2-week playoff series. You need to have enough talent to not have to wear out your best players during that stretches so that they're breaking down in the playoffs. For instance, Golden State, waiting so long to make a trade, wearing Steph Curry out. He pulls a hammy for the first time in his career in a second-round playoff series. Denver last year, they weren't deep enough. They were leaning a lot on some key guys. Aaron Gordon had to play more perimeter defense than ever before. Guys were breaking down, especially Aaron Gordon, when they got into that series. This year, Denver addressed that depth. In addition to getting in a player that is going to prevent Aaron Gordon from having to guard on the perimeter as much, in general, they should be able to keep everybody's minutes down relative to where they were. That should put them in a better position to handle the 82-game grind. And Oklahoma City is both deep and young, which is obviously going to set them up well for that situation. And lastly, I think you need to be devoid of a crippling weakness. Winning 4 rounds will almost certainly put you in front of different types of great teams. And when you face different types of great teams, one of them is probably going to be able to expose your biggest weakness. For instance, Luka Doncic as a perimeter defender. In previous rounds, he didn't have to guard in space as much. They were able to produce enough defense to win, right? Boston, though, a team that was truly able to space Luka Doncic out, all of a sudden, his inability to contain the ball in the perimeter became a crippling weakness for that Dallas team. For example, I think Luka will need to become a better defender in order to ever lead what we would consider to be a bona fide top-tier championship contender that is utterly devoid of a crippling weakness. It remains to be seen if conditioned Luka will be that kind of guy in the future, right? That's a question mark for that Lakers team. But like maybe you have a coach that is a mistake-prone coach that doesn't play to the team's strengths that could cost you a series. Or maybe it's a very flawed player in your best lineups that could be a breaking point. Rudy Gobert for Minnesota's offense against truly elite defenses is an example of this type of weakness, right? Neither Oklahoma City nor Denver has a crippling weakness like that. To be clear, I still think you can win a championship if you have a flaw or two in one of those categories I just listed, but your margin for error becomes much smaller. And I think that's where you dip into second tier contention when you have a question mark in one or two of those areas. That's where you need favorable stuff to happen for you. You need to catch a good matchup. You need some luck, right? But Denver and Oklahoma City are the only two teams in the entire NBA this year that I think check all of those boxes for bona fide top tier championship contender. My number one team in my championship contenders this year is the Denver Nuggets. So I have Oklahoma City and Denver on equal footing in this tier, to be clear. But the reason why I'm giving Denver the slight nod stems from the simple fact that I think Denver matches up really well with Oklahoma City. There are some very specific reasons why an inferior version of this Denver team last year managed to push Oklahoma City to the brink. They have the best player in the series, Nikola Jokic. And yes, Oklahoma City did play him into some rough games, but generally speaking, he was the one offensive player who was able to consistently generate great shots for his team against that Oklahoma City defense. They struggled to pay those shots off at times where the depth and talent will help this year, but Nikola Jokic was able to break down Oklahoma City's defense. And two, Denver is just the kind of high IQ defense that can make Oklahoma City uncomfortable by forcing them to think. They had to methodically break them down possession by possession against different coverages, making good decisions, making long jump shots. Essentially, Denver does a good job of playing Oklahoma City into their weaknesses. And this Denver team is much deeper and much more talented than they were last year. They played a series tomorrow. I would pick Denver to win in 6 or 7 games. And that is why Denver is my championship favorite at this point. Now, for Oklahoma City, the case lies in internal improvement. I'm not saying there's some massive gap here. I think it's incredibly close. And if they get that type of internal improvement, they absolutely can beat Denver and become the first repeat champion since the 2018 Warriors. I said I'd pick Denver to win a series that starts tomorrow. We don't know where Shai or J-Dub or Chet will be as basketball players by the time late May comes around. A lot can change for all three of those guys. If they stand pat or only make very minor improvements, I think they're going to lose to Denver. If they make substantial improvements, they're going to hoist the trophy again. That's their pathway. For me, I'm looking at Denver because I like the matchup with Oklahoma City. It's the best player in the league with the best roster he's ever had. As much as I like that Oklahoma City team, I think they're still a couple years away from being just like a every season we're the very best playoff team and we're not going to lose but 4 or 5 playoff games in an entire playoff run. Like that's going to require some internal improvement for them to get to that point. Maybe they get there this year. Again, they're in that same tier with Denver. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Oklahoma City won, but I'm giving the slight edge to Denver based on the matchup and having the best player in the series.